Alright, what's up guys? In today's video, we will be discussing how I lost 40 pounds in 13 weeks. So this is essentially will be a fat loss guide for anyone who's trying to lose weight, especially after bulk. Alright, so step one, I found my maintenance calories. My maintenance calories are just the calories you have to eat in a day to maintain your weight. And so I found my maintenance calories by going to Google and searching TDEE calculator. I typed that into Google. And once you type that into Google, you enter in all the information. It's basically information regarding to your body measurements, such as your height, your body weight, your estimated body fat percentage, and your activity level. And your activity level is pretty much based on two factors. One, how much exercise you do in a day, and two, how much movement you do on a regular basis. So for example, if you work at a job where you walk a lot, like the post office or a warehouse or landscaping, versus a job in which you sit down for most of the day, your activity level varies based on that. Okay. So you enter in all the information and it'll give you your maintenance calories. Now, one thing about maintenance calories, and this is very important, so listen up. One thing about maintenance calories is it's a rough estimate. Okay. So this means it's your approximate maintenance. So if you eat your maintenance calories that it gives you, and you notice you're either losing weight or you're gaining weight, that means you need to modify your maintenance calories based on your goals. So for example, if you eat the suggested maintenance calories it tells you and you gain weight, that means your maintenance is actually lower. Whereas if you eat the maintenance calories it tells you and you're actually losing weight, that means your maintenance is actually higher. All right. So step two, I took my recommended maintenance calories, which were 3,000 calories a day at the time, and I ate in a 1,000 calorie deficit daily. Now, a 1,000 calorie deficit daily is 2 pounds of fat loss per week, and I was losing approximately 2 pounds of fat a week, a little bit more than 2 pounds of fat a week. So my maintenance is pretty accurate. All right, and you don't have to do a 1,000 calorie deficit. You can do something smaller like 200, 300, 500. I recommend the most you do is 1,000 to 1,500. It's all relative to how much fat you have. The more fat you have, the larger of a deficit you can run without losing muscle and strength. Whereas the lower body fat you are, the smaller of a deficit you can run without losing muscle and strength. Now, the body fat and the weight and the body fat percentage at which you start losing muscle and strength is all dependent on your genetics. For me, I start losing strength at around 10% body fat once I hit a 1,000 calorie deficit. But for some people, they're losing strength when they run a deficit as large as 1,000 when they're 14%. So it's all dependent on your genetics. You're just gonna have to do this yourself to figure it out. Now, I will say once you start losing muscle, when you start losing muscle and strength on a deficit, that means you need to lower the deficit. Now, I noticed that you start if you're not losing muscle but you start losing strength, that means you might want to decrease your deficit to something smaller, because you can gain lots of strength on your cut, and I'll explain how later. But the second you start losing strength, that's when you're going to want to modify your caloric deficit, because you can gain tons of strength on a cut. All right, step three, I ate satiating foods to control my hunger. Now, what are satiating foods? Satiating foods for me are just foods that are very, very high in protein. Now, you can also eat lots of vegetables. When I'm on a cut, I don't usually eat lots of vegetables, but I would highly recommend eating lots of vegetables because they have lots of micronutrients. But in terms of other very satiating foods, you want to eat foods that are very high in protein but low in calories. And these include, baked chicken, and fish. Okay, so you're gonna eat a lot in ground turkey. So, like a chicken breast, a 4 ounce standard chicken breast is 25 grams of protein and 130 calories. Okay, so that's really good. Whereas, you have fish, pink salmon, tilapia, whatever. Those are often, 18, 19 grams of protein per 4 ounces and only 90 calories. Okay, so if you eat 16 ounces of fish a day, that's about 72 grams of protein, 360 calories. You eat 16 ounces of chicken a day, that's about 520 calories and 100 grams of protein. You eat 2 cups of Greek yogurt. A cup of Greek yogurt is 90 calories. That's 180 calories, 30 grams of protein. And then you eat some 93.7 ground turkey. 4 ounces of ground turkey is like 130 calories, 22 grams of protein. So you just have to eat very satiating foods. And another very satiating food I recommend are egg whites. Egg whites are extremely high in protein and low in calories. A standard carton of egg white has about 250 calories, 50 grams of protein. That's a very easy way to get protein. Now, I will say none of these foods taste particularly good. If you learn how to cook, that would be even better. But I don't recommend using oils or anything because that's just added calories, and you don't want added calories. And the point of eating all these foods are to A, satiate yourself, and to B, maintain all the muscle you've built and maintain all the strength you've built. Now, eating very high protein foods is how you're going to maintain all of your muscle and all of your strength and even gain strength when you're in a caloric deficit. So it's very important that you eat very high protein foods. It is very easy to eat 1,500 calories and 250 grams of protein. I'll say it straight out. As someone who does it every day, you can effortlessly eat 1,500 calories and get 250 grams of protein. So it's not hard. Step 4, intermittent fast. Okay, I highly recommend intermittent fasting. The purpose of intermittent fasting is to pretty much control your. There's some scientific reason that it makes it beneficial to do, but the primary reason you want to do it as someone who's trying to lose weight is because it allows you to control your hunger. When you eat within a window, right? You allow yourself to not be hungry. Okay, like so. For example, if you ate at 8 a.m., you'd be hungry again at 12 p.m. But if you just eat at 12 p.m., well, you're not hungry anymore, if that makes sense, right? So you're controlling when you eat to control your calories in, okay? And eventually you get to a point where you get used to it, to where you won't be hungry until 12 p.m. Your body will know, okay, I'm not eating until 12 p.m. today. So the purpose of intermittent fasting is to control the calories in. So if you don't eat, I'd recommend 16-hour fast. You can do whatever you want, but 16-hour works the best for me. I usually get about 3 meals in when I'm on a cut from 12 to 8 p.m. Okay, so I highly recommend doing intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is also beneficial because, in the morning before you eat your first meal, you can do fasted cardio, and whenever you do fasted cardio, you burn more calories. So, highly recommend intermittent fasting. And the purpose of intermittent fasting again is to control the amount of calories you consume and to control your hunger. All right, step 5 in terms of lifting routine. So I lifted 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. I did push pull legs, push pull legs. The first 3 days were push pull legs heavy, where I was doing between 4 and 8 reps, focusing on strength. And the second 3 days were push pull legs high volume, where I was focused on hypertrophy, doing lots of drop steps, and trying to get bigger muscles. Okay, so when you're in a deficit, you want to make sure that you're still training heavy, that you're still trying to gain strength like you would on a bulk. Of course, you might progress lower. Okay, so instead of increasing weight by 5 pounds every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on where you are, you might increase weight every 7 weeks or whatever. But regardless, since you're eating high protein, it's going to be sustainable and doable. All right, step 3, I did cardio. I love doing cardio on a cut because it increases your maintenance calories and it increases the deficit at which you run. So depending on how much cardio you do in a day, you might actually be in a larger caloric deficit, assuming you're still eating your recommended maintenance calories. Now, of course, don't take this overboard. You don't want to be in too large of a deficit because sometimes you'll get in too large of a deficit to where like you're just going to lose muscle once you get to like 12%, 11%, 10% body fat, just depending on your genetics. Again, the more fat you have, the larger of a deficit you can run without losing muscle and strength. But once you get down to about 15, 14% body fat, I'd recommend sticking to about 1,000 calorie deficit because you're still losing 2 pounds of fat a week in a 1,000 calorie deficit, which is a ton. All right. And also, if you don't like running, I walked a lot in my free time, so I highly recommend walking as a form of cardio. Walking is unequivocally the greatest form of cardio there is, in my opinion, because it's easy. You can do it long time. It's low impact. It's good for your mental health, just getting sunlight and just thinking. You can go on walks to de-stress and just think. You can see people you know, talk to people, talk to strangers, socialize. I love walking. I walk all the time when I'm not running or cycling, just for fun, just for good exercise. You burn as many calories every mile you walk. You burn the same amount of calories as you would walking. The only thing is, you of course walk substantially slower than you run. So just keep that in mind. So if you burn 140 calories per mile running like I do, you would burn 140 calories walking. So just kind of keep in mind. And that is how I lost 40 pounds in 13 weeks. I went from a bulky 200 pounds to a shredded bodybuilding stage ready, or nearly bodybuilding stage ready physique in 13 weeks. That's how I did it. If you guys are interested in coaching, I do one-on-one coaching, how to become a hybrid athlete, how to become a hybrid, how to bodybuild, how to build muscle and run concurrently at the same time, how to train for marathons, all of that good stuff. Links in the bio. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.